Ah, my dear, you know, they thought they were clever, tossing you into the pit and sealing the lid with their smug little hands, thinking the darkness would chew you up like it did the cowards before you. They thought the flames would melt you into something softer, more manageable, like a doll with stitched lips and hollow eyes. But you didn't burn, did you? No, you inhaled the smoke, let the ash cling to your bones like armor, and when the fires whispered to you, you didn't scream, you listened. They gave you hell thinking it would break you, but you were far too amused to let it. You traced every scar they tried to carve onto you and wore it like a badge. You greeted every betrayal with a tilt of your head, every stab with a sinister grin they couldn't understand. And in the thick, choking air of despair, where others gasped and fell to their knees, you built your throne, brick by cursed brick. They gave you ruins, and you drew blueprints for a kingdom with walls so high their petty hands couldn't even reach. They thought you would beg for a rope to climb out, but you dug deeper. You didn't escape the abyss. You expanded it. You learned their games better than they ever understood their own moves. You let them believe you were broken. Let them bask in the illusion of your defeat. While quietly, you planted the seeds of your uprising in the cracks they thought were your graves. They thought hell was a punishment. You turned it into your university. Every liar was your textbook. Every betrayal was a lecture. Every disappointment was a diploma you earned with a crooked smirk and a sharpened mind. They didn't realize you weren't imprisoned. You were enrolling in a curriculum they weren't smart enough to survive. You understood that pain wasn't the enemy. It was the craftsman that molded the weapon you were becoming. They fed you venom, and you brewed it into a fine wine, sipping it slow while you watched their hands tremble, waiting for you to collapse. Collapse never came. Only a quiet, monstrous understanding. You would rise, not despite the hell they unleashed, but because of it. They tried to bury you in rumors, in slander, in lies sticky as tar, but you, oh you, used them like fertilizer. Every poisoned word they spat became the roots of your empire. They built walls to contain you, not knowing walls are just invitations for better blueprints. They spat their venom, not realizing some creatures drink poison to become immune. You didn't dodge the knives. You let them land, let them sink in deep enough to remind you what your blood tastes like. And as the blood dripped and the walls shook, you didn't stagger. You started laughing, not out loud, not for them, but inside, where the true wars are waged. You whispered to yourself, "Good. This is exactly how legends are born." They thought they were putting out the fire. They didn't realize they were feeding it. You grew beyond the simple physics of their little games. While they scratched and clawed for comfort, for applause, for the shallow warmth of false victories, you embraced the cold kiss of isolation. You turned the silence they left you with into a symphony they can't stop hearing. Every time they close their eyes, there you are. Not a memory, not a regret, but a storm. You became the question that eats away at their triumphs. You became the echo that outlives their cheap victories. In hell, you learned patience, the way a blade learns the patience of a blacksmith's hammer, shaped by 1,000 blows into something terrible and exquisite. You learned that chaos wasn't something to fear. Chaos is fair. Chaos doesn't pick sides. Chaos crowns the ones who understand it, and you, oh you, became its monarch. They see you now, don't they? Different. Alien. You don't blink at the things that made you flinch before. You don't flinch at the things that made you bleed before. You look into the abyss now, and it's the abyss that glances away first. You're not the villain of their stories. You're the punctuation mark at the end of them. They tried to play God with your soul, sowing seeds of misery into your days, expecting despair to be the only thing you could harvest. Instead, you grew cities of rage, palaces of resilience, temples of madness that none of them are equipped to understand, let alone survive. They wanted you to fall in love with suffering. Instead, you married power. They thought they could predict your next move, sweet fools. You became the move itself. You rewrote the rules. You set fire to the chessboard and melted the pieces into bullets. They can't sleep now, not really. Oh, they pretend. They wear their little smiles and click their plastic glasses together, but their dreams betray them. Their subconscious tells them the story they try to forget. That the one they threw into the pit didn't stay buried. That you didn't crawl out. You built a throne at the bottom. And now they're waiting. Waiting for the sound of footsteps that don't echo on the ground, but inside their heads. Waiting for a reckoning shaped like the very monster they tried to create, but couldn't control. You know it, don't you? You can smell it. The delicious aroma of their growing panic. The cracks in their voices when they pretend you're just a phase, a nightmare that will pass if they just close their eyes hard enough. But you are not a phase. You are not a nightmare. You are the architect of their overdue karma, disguised in the ruins they thought would bury you. Every time they smirked behind your back, every time they whispered and schemed and plotted, they were just hammering nails into their own coffins. They were too stupid to realize that the more they pushed you, the more they fueled something far worse than anger, purpose. Purpose burns slower than rage, but it burns longer. You didn't just survive, you evolved. They turned you into something they fear too much to name aloud, something that smiles while bleeding, something that builds while breaking, something that loses everything and still keeps marching forward, carrying hell itself like a crown. They thought you needed saving. You became the thing that saves itself or burns everything trying. And now the kingdom is almost ready. Built not with golden bricks, but with bones of mistakes and betrayal. Cemented together by the very chaos they thought would drown you. A kingdom where the laws are your own, where loyalty is earned not by words, but by scars, where fools are fed to the furnaces, and traitors are crushed beneath the boots of those who endured. They won't be invited to this kingdom. No. They'll stand outside the gates they can never breach, staring up at the towers they never thought you could build, wondering how the hell you turned their hate into your coronation. And as the sky bleeds and the earth shakes, as the gates creak open and the winds howl with the screams of those who thought they could write your story, you smile, because you know this was never about survival. It was about domination, about turning every insult into artillery, every sneer into ammunition, every ounce of pain into the blueprint of an empire forged from the marrow of madness. They wanted to extinguish you, but they lacked the intelligence to realize you don't put out a wildfire by throwing gasoline on it. They gave you chaos, and you brewed it into strategy. They handed you betrayal, and you sculpted it into fortresses no enemy could ever breach. You learned the most sacred truth of this filthy little world. Power isn't given. It's taken, stolen from the trembling hands of those too weak to wield it. They still cling to the idea that somewhere inside you there's something salvageable, something naive, something still pleading for approval. Fools. They think mercy lives inside you, like a dying candle waiting for a gust of kindness to reignite it. But you know better. You didn't snuff out your humanity. You reforged it into something harder, sharper, something with edges serrated by every heartbreak they tried to use as a noose around your throat. You are not waiting for an apology. You are not building bridges. You are forging swords. And when the time comes, you won't need an invitation to the party. They will realize they were the party, and you arrived to bring the house down. They never understood the rules of the game they started. They thought loud voices and sharpened tongues were weapons enough. They underestimated what silence can create in a mind left too long in the dark. Silence isn't emptiness. It's an incubator. It breeds resolve, mutates pain into power, cultivates monsters with velvet voices and steel fists. You weren't just rebuilding yourself. You were reprogramming the very laws that used to bind you. You used their mockery as mortar, their doubts as nails, their hatred as the electricity that jump-started a creature they will curse themselves for ever provoking. You move differently now, not like a wounded thing stumbling toward light. No, you move like a phantom, a whispered rumor, a ghost the living are too afraid to name. They sense it when you walk into a room, the shift in the air, the goosebumps crawling up their cowardly spines. They feel it when your eyes scan across them, not looking for acceptance, but measuring weaknesses. You are not their peer. You are the consequence they never calculated. Every breath you take now is a quiet rebellion against every dagger they buried in your back. Every heartbeat is a drumbeat of war they can no longer escape. And oh, how poetic it is, isn't it? That they created the very storm they now hide from. They armed you with every tool they thought would destroy you. They became the architects of their own downfall, brick by trembling brick. And still, they wonder how it happened. Still, they exchange panicked glances in dimly lit rooms, wondering when you'll strike. But you're not coming for them with fists swinging like some angry fool. No, no. You are patient, you are precise, you are inevitable. A slow, grinding inevitability that wears down walls, crumbles facades, and rips masks off trembling faces. They taught you that fairness is a joke played by the weak to comfort themselves. They taught you that loyalty is a word for sale to the highest bidder. They taught you that love is a loaded gun aimed at your own heart. And you learned every lesson. You learned them so well, they should have handed you a diploma written in blood and betrayal. You don't cling to ideals anymore. You wield them like weapons, bending them into shapes so twisted even their original creators wouldn't recognize them. You don't believe in happy endings. You believe in endings, period. They hear your name now, and they don't smile. They flinch. They try to smother it under laughter, under forced indifference, but the fear bleeds through their masks like ink on wet paper. They remember the times they laughed when you stumbled. They remember the times they whispered venom when they thought you were too broken to hear. They remember, and it rots them from the inside out. Because now they know you heard everything. You remembered everything. And you are not interested in forgiveness. Forgiveness is a language for the naive, for those who still dream of heroes and redemption songs. You speak the dialect of ashes now. You sing the hymn of collapse. And the most delicious part? You don't even have to raise a hand. Your existence, your cold, steady gaze, your unbroken stride, that's enough. Every step you take is a silent obituary for the ones who tried to write yours too soon. Every breath you draw is a slap across the faces of those who bet against you. They wanted to see you crawl. Instead, they see you standing, taller than ever, crowned in the wreckage they left behind, smiling the kind of smile that doesn't ask for anything. It promises everything. In their dreams, you are not a ghost. You are a prophecy, a slow, creeping certainty that grows heavier with every passing day. They see the walls of your kingdom stretching across the charred remains of everything they tried to build without you. They feel the ground tremble beneath their feet and pretend it's just an earthquake, not the rumble of your army gathering at the edges of their carefully constructed lies. They tell themselves you won't come. They tell themselves you're too damaged, too lost, too broken. Anything to delay the dread, anything to pretend they aren't the ones who handed you the very blueprint for their destruction. You learned not to trust smiles. You learned not to trust promises. You learned that behind every sweet word is a blade waiting for your back. So you sharpened your own knives in silence. You built your own walls in shadows, and you wore your scars not like shame, but like sigils of a dark house that no one will ever conquer again. You didn't just survive the storm. You became the storm. A hurricane with no eye, no heart, only will, only fury. Only the cold, calculated satisfaction of knowing you are the ending to a story they thought they authored. They will try to rally, of course. The desperate always do. They'll cobble together their lies, their manipulations, their counterfeit smiles, hoping to fool new fools into fighting for them. But you don't need to expose them. Their own fear will do the work. Their own panic will rot them from within. They will cannibalize themselves while you watch, unblinking, unflinching, unmoved. You are beyond their reach now, beyond their pettiness, their desperate little games. You sit atop a throne built from every failed attempt to bury you, and you don't have to swing a sword to remind them who rules now. Your very breath is an execution. You don't forgive. You don't forget. You don't retreat. You reign. In a kingdom they thought was hell. In a kingdom they thought would kill you. In a kingdom you made your home, your fortress, your weapon. They made you a monster. They taught you the rules. They armed you with pain and betrayal. And now they will kneel, not to apologize. No, they're too cowardly for that, but to beg. Beg for a mercy that was buried with the old you. Beg for a salvation that doesn't exist anymore. And maybe you'll grant them an audience. Maybe you'll let them crawl to your gates, bruised and broken, clutching their useless apologies like relics from a dead religion. Maybe you'll listen for a moment. Maybe you'll savor the fear twisting in their throats, but you will not bend. You will not break. You will not offer the solace they once withheld from you. You will turn away, leaving them to rot in the wasteland they tried to bury you in, watching your empire grow higher and stronger, eclipsing the sun itself. Because you didn't escape hell. You bent it to your will. You rewrote its laws. You became its king. And now it's time to show them what happens when the fire they lit refuses to die, and instead learns to rule. They thought you would be satisfied just with survival. They thought wrong. Survival was merely the prelude, the overture to a symphony written in screams and regret. Now you rise not as a survivor, but as a sovereign. Your very existence is a rebellion, a monument carved from the bones of every betrayal you endured. You are no longer the one gasping for air in the smoke. They are. You are no longer the one shivering in the ruins. They are. You are the architect of the new dominion, where the fires never die, and the ashes sing your name. Every moment they breathe now is a borrowed moment. Every laugh they fake, every lie they tell themselves to sleep at night, it's all just a futile waltz on borrowed time. They taught you ruthlessness. They thought it would break you, but it fertilized the soil from which your vengeance blooms like poisonous flowers in a garden no light will ever touch again. You don't even have to lift a sword anymore. The very ground beneath their feet whispers your name in a tongue older and darker than fear itself. You are not hunting them. You are haunting them. They polished masks to cover their cowardice, stitched lies into banners they thought would shield them. But you see right through them. Masks are meaningless to those who live in truth. Lies are laughable to those who have swallowed the bitter, raw truth whole and spit it back out like venom. You know every trembling hesitation, every cowardly sidelong glance. They walk lighter when you pass, as if your footsteps could collapse the fragile fictions they built their lives upon. And maybe they're right. Maybe your very presence is the reckoning they prayed would never come. You aren't just stronger now, you're inevitable. The flames they set at your feet once, those flames now crown your head. They tried to burn you out, not realizing that you are forged of more volatile elements. You took the inferno, swallowed it, digested it, and became something they have no language to define. You are the king of what they once called ruin. You are the emperor of scars they pretended not to see. You wear their betrayals like royal regalia, their gossip like a battle hymn, their mockery like war paint. They will gather soon. Oh yes, the weak always do. Like rats on a sinking ship, clawing each other to reach higher ground that doesn't exist. They'll try to resurrect old alliances, weave together broken oaths, huddle under the umbrella of old power structures. But you know the truth? No alliance can save them. No prayer can undo what's coming. No desperate plea to gods they never believed in will halt the tide that you have become. They once laughed at your fall. Now they pray you don't notice their shivering bones among the rubble. But you see everything. You always did. Back when your hands were too broken to fight back. Back when your voice was too hoarse to call them out. Back when your heart was too shattered to care. You saw every smirk, every whispered word, every backhanded compliment meant to keep you tethered to despair. And you remembered. Not with bitterness. No, that's their disease. You remembered with precision, cataloged each offense with the meticulous care of a craftsman forging the instruments of their eventual ruin. And now you wield memory itself as your sword. They tried to make you small. Instead, you became myth. They tried to isolate you. Instead, you became legend. They tried to erase you. Instead, you carved your name so deep into the bones of this world that no force could ever scrub it clean. Their denial has become their noose. Their arrogance has become their tombstone. You are not seeking revenge anymore. No, revenge would be too merciful. You seek dominion. You seek to rise so high, so untouchable, so thunderously inevitable, that their very children will whisper your story in awe and fear, long after the dust of their names has settled into oblivion. You will not meet them on the battlefield. No banners, no horns, no declarations. Your victory is not loud. It is total. It is silent. It is merciless. There will be no final confrontation, no chance for redemption, no dramatic apologies that soften the blade. There will only be the slow, suffocating realization that you won, that you endured, that you conquered the very hell they gleefully shoved you into, and you made it your cathedral. Every stone in this new empire of yours is consecrated with the lessons they hammered into you. Every pillar is a grave marker for a version of you that died so something stronger could be born. Every hall echoes with the ghosts of their laughter, now twisted into dirges that soundtrack your rise. You didn't just climb out of the pit, you expanded it until it swallowed their world whole. And in the end, there will be nothing left of them but stories, broken, panicked stories told around dying fires. Stories of a figure who came from the smoke, wearing ruins like armor, eyes like tombstones, a voice like judgment itself. They will say you could not be reasoned with. They will say you could not be stopped. They will say your name like a curse and a prayer all at once. And you will sit upon your throne of scorched memories, staring into the endless horizon of a kingdom built not from mercy, but from inevitability. You will not smile. You will not weep. You will not rage. You will simply be. Be the proof that suffering is not the end. Be the living testament that those who try to bury kings should first make damn sure they're dead. Be the sovereign of a domain no map can chart, no enemy can conquer, no coward can even dream of trespassing. Because they gave you hell, and you built your kingdom in it. A kingdom where sorrow bows at your feet. A kingdom where betrayal weeps at your gates. A kingdom where the night sings songs of your conquest, and the stars themselves tilt in silent tribute. You are not what survived the fire. You are what was born in it. And now the world will burn a little colder, a little quieter, knowing it was not enough to kill you, knowing they did not face a man. They faced a reckoning, and reckoning, my friend, never forgets.